Alright, hello everybody, it's Rob here. We just had the developer live stream and we have a long list of patch notes and updates, and there is a lot of buffs and nerfs coming to the game. But overall, I think it's gonna be very positive for the overall class balance of the game. And it's actually also looking pretty good for our favorite class, the Barbarian, and we're gonna get into it now. It's gonna be like quite a long video. I'm mainly gonna focus on Barb, but I'm also going to briefly talk about the meta and the other classes, especially like Bulwark, Druid, and like those kind of meta builds I want to look at. Bone Spear, Necro, things like that. So we have the patch notes here. I'm going to put them in the description as well. Or here, I'm going to put them in the chat here too for you guys. And yeah, let's get into it. So they're going to make several changes. So first of all, we're going to get new unique and legendary aspects here. The first one is already a pretty cool one. Pants. When you take damage from non-physical type, you gain 10% maximum resistance to that damage type. And keep in mind, they are reworking resistance to work similar like in Diablo 2. We're going to get into this in a bit. The effect can only apply one damage type at a time. So pretty cool stuff. The next one here is a big one for Barbarian. It's probably going to be used in almost every build. While you are berserking, when you already are berserking and you gain another stack of berserking, basically, you have a 60% chance to become even more enraged, granting you 15% multiplicative damage, 2 Fury per second, which is also buffed by your other Fury bonuses, and 10% cooldown reduction. This is huge. It is competing with Shaco, the Harlequin's Crest, which is like farmable now with Uber Duriel. But still, I mean, especially, we don't know the drop chance, how common the Harlequin's Crest is going to be. This is a very, very strong helm. And from what they showed, this is also target farmable at Duriel. Hey, thanks for the support, Cello. Welcome in, man. So this is going to be one of the best helms for Barb, man. It's actually competing kind of with Shaco, I think. This is like really strong bonuses. And gaining Berserking on Barb is fairly easy if you know the class. So we'll see. Next one here is an Amulet. Boulder, while Hurricane is active, causes your boulders to rotate around you. Thanks for the support, my friends. This one is also insane. We saw it like very briefly in the footage. It kind of looks like... Hammered in Diablo 2, where like the boulder is just like circling around you, and maybe, you know, it's gonna be a very good speed farming playstyle. Looking forward to see this one in more action. While you have unlimited energy from the inner side, your core skills have 8% chance to spawn caltrops. Sehr good stuff here. I don't really know like much about the rogue, but in general, rogue didn't really get any nerfs and only got like some solid buffs, and it was already one of the best classes, so rogue's in a good spot here. Then there's Necro Pants, Sorcerer Ring. So Necro in general got a lot of minion stuff here. So this one is also really strong. Minions can curse now. And they take 70% multiplicative overpower damage. They are reworking overpower. So, and Necro has lots of overpower things. Could be very, very, very good. Sorcerer Unlucky. Damaging enemy has up to 30% chance to form an exploding ice spike. Yeah, we'll see Sorg. Sorg was kind of on the weak side, but I've seen like Hydra is getting a massive damage buff, things like that. We'll see. So here are the new legendary aspect. These were the new uniques. Aspect of Slaughter, 20% more movement speed. What we lose it when we take damage. This could be combined with like barriers and stuff to get a pretty solid movement speed buffs for like speed farming and stuff. And you're not losing it if you have your barrier up because you're not taking damage, right? So. And then again, we can combine this potentially with some of the pacts here, because there is like a pact where we get attack speed for our movement speed. Where is it? This one here, Ravenous. So 20% chance to gain attack speed based on our total movement speed. So that could be a very neat combination with this one. Upheaval is looking good as well. Yeah, we're gonna get to it, guys. Aspect of Elements, 30% increased damage to a set of elements. This could be really cool for every class, basically. Like you gain quite a big damage for 7 seconds, and there's multiple new ways of buffing this. Next one here is one for Barb, Rupture. Rupture in general is getting several buffs. We're going to talk more about it later. But your Rupture does not remove the bleeding from enemies now. This is a really strong effect, but it has a very long cooldown. So only once every 30 seconds. I think the internal cooldown, personally, I think it's too long. Like maybe 10-15 seconds would be more viable. Cooldown seems very long, but apart from this, it's very strong effect. But only once every 30 seconds, sadly. Druid offensive aspect here. After you hit 15 enemies with your wearer skill, your next wearer skill, will deal 50% multiplicative damage to stunned enemies. This is also very strong multiplier, holy. A roll, when you spend 100 energy, you release a cluster of exploding grenades. A grenade playstyle not many people have used. Mainly it's Twisting Blade, and Twisting Blade is remaining strong. So I bet my money on that Twisting Blade Rogue is going to remain meta. But yeah, the Druid one is pretty solid. Long Shadow Necromancer, your shadow damage over time has a 30% chance to generate 3 essence. Damage from shadow by creepers and always generate essence. So in general, since they are nerfing crit, this entire patch is basically a passive buff to all dot builds. And Bone Spear, we're gonna get to it later, is gonna get quite a big nerf. So having this like Shadow, Mist, Infinite, Blight, Necromancer next to the Summoner Necro, like those two Necros are getting a massive buff. Dot, Infinimist, and minions are getting a massive buff, while Bone Spear is getting a massive nerf. So this could be very, very interesting. A Sorcerer offensive aspect, when your Conjuration skills hit up to you have up to 40% chance to gain +1 rank to your Conjuration skills, stacking up to 3 times. So 1 rank is usually 30% damage, roughly. So you're getting like 30% damage from this, pretty strong. And they are buffing Hydra, which is a Conjuration skill, like about ×5, really good. Yeah, gameplay updates, they're gonna, I mean, a bunch of quality of life improvements. They already like talked about this in the previous videos. We're not gonna read through all of this. We're gonna get to the good stuff here, where it gets like really crazy. Okay, we have some details here on the enchanting. So enchanting is gonna be a bit more expensive on the first enchant, but then have way less scaling. So you're not gonna see like millions and billions of gold for rerolling items. It's essentially gonna be easier to reroll your items with all these changes. Gem tap we're gonna get, and then item powers. Yeah, we have the new item powers. We already talked about that in a previous video. Like I really want to get to the class balance stuff here that's coming. So this is all the quality of life improvements, legion events, the world bosses, gonna time reduced, mounts, monster changes. Max 100 here confirmed on World Tier 4 actually. We're still missing this, really good. Teleport right into Nightmare Dungeons. Here's a big one, experience updates. So we're gonna be racing again to level 100. And this is the experience updates here. And you can see here, experience values from normal monsters are increased greatly. So you can see here 1 to 50 is unchanged, but then they are buffing them by a lot. This is the base. On top of this, we're gonna get instances, more XP, and experience bonus is gonna be multiplicative instead of additive now. So you see here, previously on level 90, because 90 to 100, like leveling 90 to 100 took long, and now it's gonna be, the entire process is gonna be up to 40% faster. And especially on level 90, you see the new XP is 850, and before it was 545, so it's like, yeah, increased by like 55%, which is insane. Like 55% more XP basically from 90 to 100. So it's gonna be very fast. I expect it to be like about 20 hours. And you can also see here the XP rewards from Helltide Chest is roughly doubled. And from Grim Favors, Whispers is also roughly doubled. Not completely, but it's still very, very good. They've not really talked about the gold here, but man, it's insane. There's some miscellaneous here. We're not gonna go through, like, this is so many patch notes. Again, I'm gonna link them in the description where we have most of the stuff. Balance changes, here we go. Butcher's Cleaver, damage to crowd controlled enemies increased by 160%, very nice. We're always gonna use this for adding crowd control anyways. Yeah, and monster density is buffed as well. I mean, overall, we're gonna level so quickly, guys. Frostburn is also buffed. Freeze duration increased by 70%. And attack speed now. Mother of Embrace also buffed. Fist of Fate is now gonna give you chance to gain damage. I believe they showed this in the live stream, and it was like 30% damage or something. So it kind of could make up for the missing crit chance on Fist of Fate. Yeah, Bulwark is nerfed. And Dariel's Visage, yeah, nice. Okay, resistance, guys. So the way that resistance works now is like, basically like it works in D2. I think I have quick summary. So resistances are now additive. If you have 20 poison res and you get another 20 poison res, you now have 40 poison res. And there is a cap now. So they're gonna give you like basically 40% damage reduction if you have 40% poison res. Just very simple. And they also showed off some... I have my notes here from the stream. They showed off some elixirs, so you can also get maximum resistance now to get to 85%. So 85% resistance is the cap. If you get special affixes that go over the cap of 70, 85 is the hard cap, and you basically get 85% damage reduction from poison attacks. And here is one of the elixirs, and it gives you 30% additive poison res and 6% max poison res. So this is probably the elixir, because Uber Duriel is a poison dude. Probably the elixir that you're gonna play for Uber Duriel. Right. So really strong. Like, resistance seems to be a very, very valid system now. Then we have armor, disobedience aspect actually buffed. We have the intelligence classes and stuff getting more resistance. Yeah. This is gonna be back to, like, they nerfed it from 50 to 30 and now they're buffing it to 66% again on disobedience. No, I mean, armor is still required for physical attacks. It's not that. So yeah, anyways, armor is only working for physical attacks now, and resistance is for the elemental attacks, which I like. And there's more details here about the resistance. But basically, TLDR, it works like in Diablo 2. 70% cap and 85% hard cap, and additive damage reduction, basically. Damage bucket updates. So here we go. They are buffing overpower damage. I believe they didn't adjust the chance to overpower. So you still need skills to overpower, else you only have a 3% base chance to overpower. But now it's actually some good multiplicative damage. I'm probably gonna make a separate video about damage buckets at some point. But basically, overpower, as long as you can proc it with certain skills, like swapping your weapons on Barb, for example, or with Bash on Barb, for example, it can be pretty good because it's all multiplicative damage and it's been increased by a lot. I think an overpower hit in the end will produce like ×3 or ×4 the multiplicative damage, which is pretty strong because they are capping critical strike damage. So this is just the base. Critical strike now always deal 1.5 multiplicative damage. Whenever you crit, and this is already the case in game. If I go in game, I'll show you. They basically just capped crit, and they also kept vulnerable to the base value that you already have, even if you don't have any items with the affix. This is just like baseline of the game. And I'll show this to you. If you go in game, you press materials and stats, and you see here on crit damage has a base value of 50%, and on vulnerable has a base value of 20%. And this is precisely the cap that is multiplicative. So yeah, they buffed a little other things, but the rest basically is just in the additive category. So you are capped at 20% vulnerable, 50% crit damage, without any items, so everything is just additive. Exclamation mark sheet is my notes. This is not organized right now, this is like just my notes from the stream. So yeah, these buckets are all capped, so that means we're gonna have so much additive damage, and a lot of builds. For example, Barbarian has 4 weapons, so it has a lot of crit damage and a lot of vulnerable damage. Usually, Barb builds have about 400 crit damage and like 300 vulnerable damage or something. So that's all being kept now. I'm gonna make, as I said, a separate video about this at some point, but this is just an early view. Blizzard is gonna compensate by giving us higher weapon damage, like we already talked about, 925 item power on the weapons. And they're gonna compensate by making the monsters weaker that we are fighting. And they are also compensating by, third point is just buffing the uniques and buffing paragon nodes, giving us new glyphs, things like that. But yeah, crit and vulnerable capped. Apart from the caps, they are just additive. And overpower actually good, but only if you can proc it, because base chance is still 3%. Miscellaneous. Death defense, which prevents maximum. So yeah, they're buffing minions in general. Like Necro minions are a pretty strong build now. Class balance updates. I definitely want to go into the Barbarian. So let's go a bit more in detail. I'm going to talk more about Barbarian than about the others. Probably going to skip the others because else this video is just going to get so long. We'll see. Barbarian. Okay, here we go. Bonus damage granted while berserking is active now. instead of is multiplicative now instead of additive. So berserking in general gives you 25% increased damage and 15% increased movement speed. It used to be additive. That means on Barb, like it's in the same category as your core skills, as your close, as your physical, you know, all of that stuff. But now it's a separate multiplier. So instead of basically being about 5% damage bonus, it's now 25%, which is really strong. So that's a really good change. Overall, big W for Barb here with this change. Enhanced dash, fortify, being based on max life. I think they changed this across the board. Every fortify that you have is now not scaling of base life, but of max life. Like if you have like your Shaco or your grandfather later, or even like items like this here, that skills like this that increase your maximum life, or on the Paragon, we also have a lot of that stuff. Buffing our maximum life. Here, 8% maximum life, for example. This is all gonna be scaling of the maximum instead of base. So it's a lot easier to keep your fortify. Upheaval is gonna get a 10% damage increase, baseline. Furious Upheaval is gonna be actually back to 12%. That's Furious Upheaval. Dang. By how much did they nerf it? I mean, it used to be like something similar, right? It's 12% times 5. It's 60% multiplier now again. But only 6 stacks. Still good. Still much better. Because you were never getting to 10 stacks realistically. And they're also buffing Hellhammer. I'll spoil this. Hellhammer looks like this now. So Hellhammer, the burning damage is like tripled. And it also gives you ranks to upheaval now, which is about 40% damage increase. And keep in mind, 4 ranks to upheaval, you can upgrade this 5 times for 50% more. So it can give you up to 6 ranks to your upheaval. And 6 ranks, usually every rank is 10% damage. So 60% more damage with that. Yeah, it's gonna be +6 when upgraded. Really strong. Rallying Cry here, fortify amount change from being based on base life. This is like on all the things basically. Everything that gives you fortify is now max life instead of base life. Here is one of the nerfs on Barb. I guess this comes from it being multiplier now. Your maximum damage from Wrath the Berserk cannot exceed ×2 basically. Before it was uncapped. It's really sad to see this change, but I guess with the combination of it being multiplicative, it's like not even a nerf overall. I think it's like 0, like a net 0 in the end. But that has to remain to be seen. Okay, we have Enhanced Rupture. We already have the new Rupture item. Enhanced Rupture. So what it's doing right now, Enhanced Rupture, ripping your weapons out of enemies, causing them to bleed for 70% damage. And now the damage is increased by 10% for each 50 main stat that you have. And usually, Barb builds, I have like 800. I mean, on most builds, I think I have like 900. This one might be like 900, 1000 main stats. So you're gonna get basically 1000 divided by 50, 20 times 10. So you're getting 200% extra damage from this 70%. So that means actually that this 70% would be 210% weapon damage, which is pretty strong. So Rupture gets a big buff. The attack speed rune from 30 to 40%, and the healing is also increased. So yeah, Rupture and bleeds in general, like I said, they are capping the crit. Bleeds generally don't work with crit, so it's gonna be really strong. And then we have the passives, Endless Fury. This is one that we have been using a lot. Endless Fury is, I think it's Prolific. And remember when we used Endless Fury. Was that a Paragon node? No, it's a passive. Fury get increased, at least 6% buff. And next to the core skills. Okay, so then we don't really use this much. Yeah, okay. I mean, maybe for the basic skills, if we make Frenzy Barb viable. I thought it was the other one. Not too bad. I mean, it's still okay. But I don't really use this in many of my builds. But maybe with a generator build, it could be useful. Thanks, chat. Inspiring Presence, that's the healing, right? Down here. Yeah, we're gonna get some nice healings back for sure. There will be healing. This is Raid Leader. Invigorating. But yeah, up to 18% buff. And damage reduction against elites. This is the Material Warrior up here. That's good. Was not used much. But maybe this can be nice against the bosses. 12% damage reduction. Pretty strong. NXpla, what's up? Thick Skin, Fortify Amount. This is also like based on our base life now. Nice stuff. Okay, Paragon boards. Here we go. Decimator. This is the one we have been talking about a lot, right? Decimator. This is like once in a blue moon you get vulnerable. Now it's actually useful. It's gonna give us up to 20% multiplicative damage basically. 10% base when you make enemies vulnerable. And if you overpower one, you get another 10. Do you guys think this will just keep stacking? Let's say we overpower 2 enemies that are vulnerable. I think it only stacks once. If it would stack more, that would be nuts. Nah, I don't think it's stacking, is it? Okay, if it stacks, I mean, then it's uncapped, right? We overpower 5 enemies, we get 50% multiplier. Oh wait, we can overpower the same enemy multiple times. I don't think it stacks, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, there's no way, because each time you make an enemy vulnerable, your damage is increased. I mean, it's just like one stack, guys. I don't think like, it would be way too strong. Yeah, how do we overpower? That's a good question. Oh, by the way, they also said this in the stream. Whirlwind, like, Whirlwind is a channeling skill. The Whirlwind skill itself cannot overpower at all. So overpower and Whirlwind just doesn't go together. It's very sad, but it is what it is. Bonebreaker. Every 12 seconds, your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. This is one way to overpower. I think Bonebreaker is the one down here, yes. So this one does nothing. The new one, actually every 12 seconds it overpowers. Very decent. But not on Whirlwind though. Flawless Technique. Let me open that one. Do we have? Here. So, damaging enemies with 100 weapons increases your critical strike chance by 1%, up to 5. And now, the duration is increased. And it can be 8% max. Okay, this is still pretty bad though. 8% crit, I mean, yeah. Carnage, especially after the crit nerfs, right? Carnage, attack speed maximum amount is increased from 8 to 16. Do we have Carnage here? Weapons Master? I don't think we do. Let me see what Carnage does again. I think I may have some additional boards. Let's back out here. Carnage. While berserking, critical strikes increase your attack speed by 2% up to 10%. And now it goes up to 16%. So just critical strikes while berserking. Could be pretty nice for like double swing or frenzy, yes? Because critical strikes while berserking is easy to achieve. 16% attack speed, very good. Warbringer, okay, it's a bit buffed. Weapons Master. Swapping weapons grants you 6 fury. And now 4% of your maximum fury. Pretty nice. I don't think I'll play this in any build still, but it's a good change. Positive change at least. Okay, then we have Hemorrhage. Enemies that have been affected by your bleeding for 3 or more seconds take 15% multiplicative damage. And now they are taking 15% of the total amount of your damage to vulnerable enemies. Actually pretty decent. Like, in general, I think in this patch we're gonna see rise of bleed builds. We're gonna see a lot of bleed builds that people will play. And yeah, we'll see how that's gonna turn out. But looking pretty strong. Blood Rage. That one is also here. Killing a bleeding enemy has 10% chance to grant berserking. Again, we have lots of berserking, lots of bleed buffs. Additional functionality. Your damage dealt is increased by 25% of the total amount of your damage while berserking bonus. That's pretty good. So if we have 100% damage while berserking, I don't know how much I have right now. Like usually I don't stack this very much. But that Paragon board has a lot of it. Probably I don't have any. I don't have any right now. But there is quite some boards. I think, let's say we take this board. There's a bunch of damage to bleeding enemies. I think there's gonna be quite some nodes though, like damage to damage while berserking. It's a very common stat on some of these. I think actually my new Paragon board, I think I didn't make could be here. No, this one isn't changed. Yeah, I made like a berserking board at some point as well, but like there's definitely a lot of berserking damage that you can get. So I think you can get like 200% easy. That will be another 1.5 multiplier. Pretty strong. Legendary aspects. This is the Hoda one, I think. We don't have a screenshot here. But yeah, the Hoda one is basically now always quaking, and it gives you 1.15 multiplier, which is a slight buff for Hoda damage. Yeah, Whirlwind Bleed's gonna be pretty cool. Aside from you can't overpower with it. But yeah, we'll see. Earth Striker's Aspect. Weapons drop, requirements for overpower attack reduced from 10 to 8. That's nice. Overpower proc now happens on your next non-basic attack. Yeah, I'm not sure how we're gonna play this much. Here are the unique changes, guys, and there's quite a lot of them. So Normal Aldis now has a maximum fury. I don't really know how much it's gonna be here. 100% of normal value. I think it's going to be like 20 or 30 maximum fury, which is very nice and a good synergy with the effect itself, right? And damage per fury is up to 0.4%. So another good buff, 25% damage buff as well. Azelrath now is non-physical damage. Ramanaldi now makes double swing actually instead of double mace with a sword, very viable. So we have the Hellhammer that I showed earlier already. So this one finally gets ranked to upheaval. Really nice. And damage to burning enemies is increased by 150%. Ancient Oath I also have here. It could be really cool for a Thorns Barb. We have a 1.5 multiplier after you hit enemies with Steel Grasp. Could be pretty strong for like Thorns builds and stuff. So looking forward to that. Ramanaldi work with Hoda. No, because Hoda requires a bludgeoning weapon, right? Can't do it, unfortunately. See, Hoda here requires a two-handed bludgeoning weapon. And Ramaladi is a one-hand sword. Doesn't work. It's only like double swing mainly. I mean, it would work for Whirlwind as well, actually. More fury, more damage. Yeah, I know. Sadly, doesn't work. Overkill also gives us Deathblow ranks now. Fields of Crimson. So this is a funny story. First, they removed the cooldown. Now they added the cooldown again. But it's gonna make it very strong actually. 200% normal value. I don't know how much cooldown it's gonna get, guys. I think I should have one right now even. It's gonna be hard to find, guys. Ah, here it is. You see, is the normal value 19%? I mean, if that's the case, we're gonna get like 60% cooldown reduction. But this is the legacy. This is the legacy Fields of Crimson at 800 item power. And it already gives you 20% Rupture. The Rupture cooldown is gonna be very low, and we have many buffs to Rupture. So 200% of its normal value, man. I mean, if this is like anywhere close to 50% cooldown reduction, we can pretty much spam Rupture. We can almost do it right now. And Rupture got a lot of buffs. And then we have Battle Trance here. Bonus ranks of Frenzy affixes doubled. I actually don't remember what it was. Was it like 3 ranks? So we now have 6 ranks. Let me double check. And just quickly put this together on the Maxwell planner. Battle Trance. So right now it has 3. And it's going to be doubled. So it's going to have 6 ranks of Frenzy. Ah, pretty nice. And damage reduction while injured replaced with Maximum Fury. Damage reduction while injured is going to be replaced with Fury. Okay, nice. 10,000 steps. Dexterity affix doubled. Okay, so it's going to give us 84 dex. Damage with skills that swap to next weapon increased by 50. The next weapon, that's like gonna be like 50% now, basically, a bit more. Cooldown for free groundstorm reduced from 30 to 15. So they're gonna reduce the ICD. It's a good step in the right direction. I just wish they would just remove the ICD. But yeah. Rage of Harrogath, that's the chest. Rage of Harrogath, damage reduction from bleeding enemies. FX increased by 15%. Okay, that's nothing. Like, we're gonna get like 15% damage reduction from bleeds instead of 12. Yeah, Rupture could be insane source of healing, right? Rupture, let's double check. So it's 18 and now it was 22. Yeah, if it's really like this crazy cooldown with Fields of Crimson, man, if it's like 1 second cooldown, we can spam it. I could see that possible. Good thinking, man. Well, we have Gorse next. So Gorse, finally, they are removing the attack speed. Attack speed doesn't work with Whirlwind, and they're adding crit chance on it. Against close enemies though, but still. Non-physical damage replaced with just damage. It's also good. So it's gonna buff your normal Whirlwind and the explosion. It's actually gonna be a lot if it's like +5, right? It's gonna be 35% all damage. That's cool. Developer note, and this one is very important. Improving the attack speed of Whirlwind is a fantasy we want players to be able to chase. However, the interaction between the stat and the skill is inconsistent, meaning it doesn't work. We are replacing the affix so it's more functional. Very nice. So no more attack speed on Gorse. You actually get crit chance now. It's crit chance against close enemies though. Not normal crit chance. Much rather have normal crit chance, but yeah. And then there is a bunch more other class changes. I'm gonna give you a TLDR of these because this video is already pretty long. As you can like read them for yourself, guys. But on Druid, what they did is fixed an issue, this is probably the most important, where Earthen Bulwark scales with the target's health. So Bulwark is fixed, guys. Bulwark was completely broken. It was doing like way too much damage because it was working. Instead of weapon damage, it took the enemy's HP as a damage buff. So yeah, that was like very busted. And now it's changed. I think minions are getting a good buff. And one here is pretty big where you get... Is it Grizzly? Basically the Grizzly Rage is now capped to 200% instead of 990. So you're not gonna have as crazy crit damage from the ultimate. Rampaging Werebeast. Yeah, here. So yeah, critical is now kept at 200, and it used to be up to almost 1000, yes? So you're basically getting divided by 5. But keep in mind, guys, crit damage is nerfed anyways. So even 1000 crit damage wouldn't even be that much anymore. Yeah, Tornado and also Tempest Roar. I don't know if they're gonna talk about it later, guys, but here are the slides. So this is the bosses and the Uber uniques that you can target farm here. This is the one for Grigory. So every unique in the game, including Tempest Roar and stuff, can be target farmed at the bosses. These are the bosses for the Grigory boss. These are the uniques that you can get for Varshan. These are the uniques you can get from Lord Zur. This is many, actually. These are the uniques you can get from Beast and Ice. I don't know if they're going to have a separate blog post about this. And these are the uniques that you can get from Duriel. And here you can see all the Uber uniques as well. And here's your Tempest Roar. So this is actually sad news for Druid as well, because Duriel is one of the hardest bosses. And Tempest Roar is like a build enabling unique, which you can probably not get early on now, because it's basically gated on this Duriel fight. So you might want to be like level 90 plus before you can even attempt this. You can still get Tempest Roar like normally in the game, but you can't target farm it early on. But there are some cool new items where there's like kind of like a hammered in you can probably do on the Druid. We talked about it a bit earlier. So there's definitely some new stuff on Druid that we need to figure out. We'll see. Necromancer overall, TLDR out of all these changes basically is there's a lot of new scaling stuff. Minion is gonna get a big buff. Dot Necro builds are gonna get a big buff because dots in general don't scale with crit, and crit is getting nerfed massively. So in general power level, Dot Necro goes up, and you can also be immortal with Infinimist. So Infinimist Necro, Mendeln. Mendeln actually is buffed slightly. Yeah, Ring of Mendeln here. This is like one of the best boss killers in the game. And Summoner Necro might be one of the easiest builds if you have Ring of Mendeln to kill Uber Duriel. Let's actually check, where do you farm the ring? Ring of Mendeln, Beast of Ice. You can get Ring of Mendeln just farming Beast in Ice and just blast Uber Duriel once you get it. Like, there's only 4 uniques on the Beast in Ice on Necro. So just farm Beast in Ice and then you just crush Duriel with Summoner Necro. It's gonna be really good. Yeah, Rogue has probably still the strongest build with Twisting Blades. Like, Twisting Blade Poison is a dot build. Bot builds are getting buffed. Twisting Blade is the strongest core skill in the game, I think. And there's no nerfs to Rogue. And Rogue overall throughout the game, I think, is the best class still. It got buffed to like basic skills. It got like some minor buffs here. There's some that gives you like instant movement speed and stuff. So overall, Rogue, I think, is in a really good spot. Twisting Blades, probably still a top build, and it's probably the best build in the game. And I think, especially if you're racing like solo self-found 200, Rogue, I think, is the best class. We'll see in the end. I mean, I also thought Rogue was the best class in Season 1, but turned out Necro was crazy with the hearts that we could not test, right? And it's going to be the same here, guys. The patch is going to release on the 18th, and the season is going to start. So season is basically the test server. We don't know. There's going to be broken things, probably going to deal infinite damage with like 3 different builds. We'll have to see what's going to be the best. Like, we can only make an educated best guess, but Rogue looks pretty solid, yes. Necro, we'll see. Bone Spear got a pretty big nerf overall. I think the main nerf was the ossified a passive on Necro. Like, your ossified essence is nerfed from 1% to 0.5. Bone Graph is nerfed a bit. So there's definitely some nerfs on the Necro. And we'll see. A Sorcerer, like, there's a buff throughout the board. Especially one that I wanted to talk about is the Hydra buff here. Hydra damage, and this is a Conjuration skill. We had a bunch of Conjuration bonuses slightly earlier here. So this one is going to get a ×5, guys. Hydra. ×5. So Hydra Sorg, potentially very good, man. And then there's new Paragon stuff as well here. A lot of new scaling. Looking pretty good. Battle Pass updates, bug fixes. We can talk quickly about bug fixes here with the Barb. Fixed an issue when Death Blow, both Earth and Strike. Okay, this is like very minor things. Is there anything like very significant here? Not really relevant. I think this is like overall like just good changes, positive changes, like not any nerfs in general. Like buffs fixed, like issues with charged are fixed. I mean, you can read all this. Like on Druid, there's the biggest one here with the bulwark. I think overall good fixes, dungeon fixes, a lot of stuff. Did I miss the Paragon glyphs, guys? Glyph experience. Oh, here. Did we see the Barb glyphs? Hey, I missed them. There was like an earthquake glyph that we might have missed. Wrath glyph bonus now affects. Yeah, okay, this is like very old patch notes. I'm not sure which class I'm gonna do yet. But yeah, there was also a new Barb glyph with earthquake, which was pretty strong. I didn't take a screenshot from the dev, but there was basically additive damage with earthquake and multiplicative against bosses and crowd controlled enemies. I wonder, earthquake. Oh. Maybe there's gonna be a separate post even. Hydra update? Are there bug reports? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff basically. But yeah, guys, overall, I think big winners are all the dot builds from this patch notes. Dot builds in general are really strong. Overpower is a bit of a question mark. If you can proc it, I think it's a very strong mechanic. Yeah, the crit nerfs hit very hard. That's why the dot builds get so much stronger in comparison. And they are nerfing like monsters in general as well. But yeah, on Barb in particular, I'm looking into like Rupture, Bleed, Whirlwind stuff. Could be very fun. Maybe even an Earthquake build, maybe even a Frenzy build on Barb. We have a lot more things to theory craft and things to go through. But overall, I think very nice changes. A lot of changes. This is gonna take some days, guys. And I mean, we only have 7 days until season start, right? Like in 7 days, the season starts. So there is gonna be a lot of things to look at with all these changes. I'm very looking forward to do this. I hope you enjoyed this, well, not so little overview. I tried to keep it short, and again, I'm gonna make some follow-up videos about some mechanics, about possible Barb builds for sure, about some of the mechanic changes. So stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's gonna be a lot of content coming. I hope you enjoyed. Again, the link is in the description. Read all of this for yourself in peace. And yeah, let's have some fun in season 2. Looking forward to it. Rob over and out. Take care, boys. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.